This video looks at the best submissions in the women's divisions from the 2024 Tashkent Grand Slam. And we're going to start things off with Chelsie Giles in an impressive display, switching from attempts to rotate her opponent to direct attempts of the hiza-gatame from this position, and finally switching back to the guard and finishing her opponent with a juji-gatame on the other arm. This is the best of the submission compilation videos I've put out so far in 2024, mainly because the amount of chokes has increased a lot at this tournament. We've seen some really interesting chokes. This one's a bit more standard fare. Saki Niizoe of Japan submitting Katie Jemima Yeats Brown. Yeats Brown, typically one of the judokas that will refuse to submit, is willing to submit in that case. There must have been a pretty tight choke. Funakubo of Japan having success with the ude-garami turnover. And was this ude-garami or te-gatame? I did ask the question earlier this year. There was a bit of a dispute in the comments about which it should be categorized as. Now we're going to see a failed attempt of an ude-garami turnover resulting in the person being submitted. Unlike Haruka Funakubo, she wasn't able to lock that arm, build a nice base before flipping her opponent. It was the opponent that was able to get up, build the base, get behind her, and then apply the choke to submit her opponent. The juji-gatame rate in this tournament was certainly kept at a pretty high level by the women of the French judo team. We'll be seeing 3 women from their team hitting multiple juji-gatames during this tournament. So here's Estelle Posvite with her second. She finished with silver in the 78s. This is a very interesting choke setup. Drops in on the opponent to force newaza, maintains the grip, places the leg over the head, but it's when she slides the leg under her opponent's arm and then falls to her left side that the pressure is really applied. Like even when she released the grip of the belt and was just pointing to the ref, the opponent was still tapping. Next up we have Figueora. This is a very interesting choke setup, similar to the one we saw moments ago from Pacut. She's working for the sweep and then switches to a collar grip and then immediately stands, places the leg over her opponent's head and ends up with a quick submission. Now we return to the French juji-gatame assault. Medina Timazova certainly doesn't like to quit. We've seen her get choked out a couple times in the past, especially in Tokyo if you've seen my recent videos. But when you have your opponent's 70 kilo body weight land on your elbow, you have a pretty good incentive to submit. They penalized her for this kochigari because her opponent's hips landed on her arm when they hit the mat. They called that a leg grab, but she came back immediately after getting the second shido, finished her opponent with the throw into the juji-gatame. More French women's juji-gatame action still to come in this video. So Petersen-Pollard avoids the ukiwaza attempt and immediately is able to get onto her opponent's back as she turtles, gets the hand into the collar, and the left arm very deep under her opponent's leg, so deep that she's able to reach over, press on her opponent's head to force her neck into that choking lapel. Now it's time for the queen of French judo, Clarisse Agbnegnenou, and she submitted 2 Japanese judokas using juji-gatame at this tournament, including in the gold medal match. How do you think Clarisse is shaping up for back-to-back Olympic gold medal wins at the moment? She's had at least 3 matches recently with Japanese players, and they've all gone into golden score where she's received 2 shidos. So they haven't been easy ones, and she hasn't had to face Miku Takashiro. Here is Agbnegnou's final submission. Got in a little bit of a weird situation in the tachiwaza, maybe going for a reverse sode-guruma. Not sure what the judoka in blue really had in mind there. So good to see the French judo team's dominance with submissions lately. Ochigari attempt with the big, deep, high collar grip and immediately transitioning into the sode-guruma-jime as her opponent turtles to avoid being scored on. And her opponent is able to delay things. They lasted a lot longer than I expected. And eventually Liluashvili comes up and puts more shoulder pressure. It almost becomes more like a te-gatame type strangle. Next we've got two submissions from De Voogd of the Netherlands. This one was in the bronze medal match. She did a good job here at extending the arm. Her opponent was down for a long time after this one. And here's another clip of her from earlier in the day doing something quite similar. Gets her opponent down to the mat. Now just wants to separate that arm from the body. Places the leg over the head. There's lots of pressure on the face. Still can't get that leg out. Stuck in half guards. She goes back to working on the arm. Extends the arm and gets strong submission win. The main dilemma in Judo Newaza is the Osai Komi submission dilemma. Which should you go for? In this case, we see the Mongolian judoka going for Osai Komi. Her opponent's forced to defend. She knows the arm's exposed, but to avoid the loss in Osai Komi, she has to risk it all and get submitted. So last year at the Tokyo Grand Slam, Natsumi Tsunoda submitted every opponent, including Babulfath of Sweden. And there were comments on that video criticizing Babulfath's Newaza level. She certainly did show in that Tsunoda match that her juji-gatame defense could do with some work, but I think overall she's shown some pretty good Newaza, both here and in other tournaments like the Tokyo Grand Slam. In this match, she put in a good effort to finally get the sankaku-jime. Another of the people that was submitted by Tsunoda at the Tokyo Grand Slam was Figueora. You would have seen Figueora earlier in this video show an impressive choking technique. There is another tournament coming up this weekend. Not sure what to expect from this tournament. There is a young Japanese team with limited international experience. Hopefully something good will happen, so I'll have more non-stop Newaza for you. Subscribe for more.